The Quantic Dream games hold a special place in my heart because there's not much like them. It's like a movie with beautiful animated characters and amazing graphics, but your actions impact the process and the outcome of the story. And this is also the case in Detroit Become Human. And while in terms of setting and believable characters they take it to the next level, some new elements are misplaced and the game does very little to improve the gameplay that we already saw in Heavy Rain that released back in 2010. Before we get into it, I want to stress that this review does not contain any spoilers, only some footage from the first few scenes in the game that you will encounter in the first hour or so. So don't worry, no story spoilers whatsoever. Let's get into it. If you enjoyed the review, then a like would be super appreciated, and let's go. Detroit takes place in 2038, where humans combine androids to help them clean the house, babysit their children, or do a lot of other jobs. You will also see them clean the streets a lot, work in stores, and fix things that are broken. Just like in Heavy Rain, you take control over 3 characters, and one you play as is Connor, an advanced android who is tasked to see what is going on with a lot of other androids that are going rogue, disobeying their master, so the humans, and even killing them as well to be free. So with your human partner Hank, it is your job to look for clues of what the heck is going on, and this will lead you to really cool places. And that is really one of the strengths of this game, the awesome locations you will visit. Without spoiling anything specific, but since the game takes place in a futuristic Detroit, it's fascinating to see the developers take on that future. Like, what does the world look like and how has technology taken over? During your adventure you will come across many TVs as well with a live broadcast of the news, where it was mentioned, for example, that the first book was written by an AI based on 7 months of research on social media, and that it was an instant bestseller. Or I heard people talk on the street about the first full Android rock band that was becoming popular. That in combination with the awesome locations you will visit really make the world of Detroit Become Human believable. It's just a great realization of the future for sure, but it's also kind of scary because the whole "Are Androids Alive" thing adds a new dimension to the many choices you will make during the 10-hour long campaign as well. Since the 3 characters you control are all androids, you tend to choose their sides, but if you then recall what you did and see the human reaction, you totally resonate with that as well. I mean, it's totally not weird to think about a future where machines might turn against us, and it's all very well done in Detroit, also thanks to the very well realized characters you begin to care about and you don't want to let down. Because in Detroit you also got these relationship levels comparable to a Telltale game, for example, where your choices not only impact the outcome, but also what other people think of you. And that totally means that not everyone will be your friend in the end. But if they do like the choices you make, new possibilities will unlock, like they might give their life for you, or you can further deepen your relationship. Sadly, this system goes hand in hand with some of the big flaws that this game has. For example, that it's too easy, and it also takes away the mystery that was present in the previous Quantic Dream games. You'll, for example, see a very big lock open if you opened a new path for that character. Well, it would be way cooler if it wasn't so in your face and it would just simply happen. A better example is that some choices can become available during the heat of the moment. So you need to remember a name and you got 4 choices, but one choice like opens up at that moment. So then you're like, oh, that's probably the right answer, right? Because that choice becomes available because you unlocked something in the previous scenes. But it would be way cooler if you had to like think of that yourself. Instead, the game hands you the answer, and that's even on the experienced difficulty mode. Detroit holds your hands way too much, and since the action sequences mostly revolve around QuickTime events, so you will always win if you know the buttons on a controller, aka you played some PlayStation games before. And while they sometimes like experiment with some different ways to use the already limited gameplay, it never takes it to the next step. And while with Heavy Rain this was fine, since it was like for most gamers the first time they played a game that way, for this new title that is launching 8 years later, it would have been awesome if they like did some sort of evolution of that gameplay system. Sadly, this is not present in Detroit at all. Another new addition in this game is the flowchart that gives you an idea of how the story unfolds after each choice. And while it would have been cool to see this after you beat the game, it kind of has the opposite effect if you see it at the end of a mission and then you see, oh, I missed a complete section of this chapter because I made the choice X. I mean, I don't want to know that. It takes away all the mystery of what could have been. You can even view this flowchart during the chapter as well. So when you're about to make a big choice, you can see if it will really impact the story or not by looking at the things that will happen afterwards. I mean, you will not like see the specific things that will happen afterwards, but you will see that, oh, one of these two choices will make the chapter way shorter than if I pick the other one, because then I have way more things left to do. I would have preferred this feature after I completed the game. This makes you understand Detroit way more, and I always love the fact about the Quantic Dream games that I was not sure about how the story could have gone otherwise. So while the overall story and set pieces you will find are varied and offer some awesome twist to the android situation that is going on, I felt that the endings were not as satisfying, like something was missing. It felt rushed in many ways, with short cutscenes that would show failures or accomplishments with no words said at all. It will leave you like, okay, this was it, I guess? It's like if the developers had to rush the ending to ship the game on time, and that is sad, because again, the story to that point is awesome, but I expected a little more satisfying endings. But in many cases, like the different endings I saw, they did not have such thing. And because the game is an open book in terms of what could have been, you see that the different choices are not as huge as you might have thought. It all leads you to the same moments, only sometimes you miss that one character or you miss that complete scene. So yes, Detroit is totally not a game without its flaws, but I still think it's an awesome experience if you are into these sort of cinematic Quantic Dream games. If you don't expect a revolution in terms of gameplay, then you'll find an awesome game that has very well written characters, an interesting world, and it will make you think, what if this is our future? Like, how would you feel? It's that extra layer that really makes Detroit stand out. So I'm curious to hear if you are going to pick up the game, if you are a fan of the Quantic Dream games. So let me know in the comments down below. Totally subscribe for way more videos on the upcoming PlayStation 4 exclusives. I plan to do a ton with Spider-Man, and of course I'm still covering a lot of God of War. Drop a like to support the channel, check out my video on the Sony E3 2018 press conference. That will be different this year, and I will speak to you next time. Goodbye.